you very much. That is a really dangerous precedent. I'm starting to think that my speech is over because you're already standing, but that is difficult to top. I hope I can live up to whatever you said. Thank you very much, Neil. It is very sweet of you. But the great thing about introductions, every time somebody says something about me before I speak, I am lucky now because it is actually right here. I've always said I wish my kids were here to actually hear that. And this is one time when they're actually at the back, although I'm missing one daughter who is on a cruise trip. Oh, they're waiting. So you better stand up and be recognized and you start to wave. So, hey, Jesse, Jason, they're looking at you, so stand up. There they are. Bonus yung isa. Okay, so really happy to be here, and thanks very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much, Dr. Atienza and Neil, of course, who made it all possible for me to be here. It is a big honor, and I could never say thank you enough. It's so nice to be here. You have a fantastic university. It's so nice to be back in Lucena, and I'll tell you about why. To give you my talk. I have known MSEUF as actually Luzonian University. It is a premier university with great teachers and great alumni, and sometimes you get a bonus of both when you have a great alumni as a great teacher. And I'm of course referring to Neil, as my uncle would fondly call her. You all know her, of course, and I have to thank her for making it possible for me to be here. I know her from my uncle, as mentioned, Dr. Al Palomar, who was an alumni here, as mentioned, and also taught here, and considers Neil as one of the best students he has had all over the world. And he has been teaching for 50 years. And he's still going great. So, thank you, Niels, and you are so lucky to have her. Yes, you can clap if you want. You should give it to her. Okay. You see, my respect for Manuel Ettenberger University Foundation is very personal. It is also the same school of my father, who is here at the back. He's an alumnus of this school, and it is his Luzonian University education that actually allowed him to transition from being a marine engineer into, actually he took accounting and finance here, which led to his becoming Assistant City Treasurer of Lucena, and his last post before he retired was City Treasurer of Sao Paulo City, and he is here with us. So teachers like Dr. Inverna, Dr. Villariva, and Ms. Flores were names I have been familiar with as a child. I have heard those names revered and mentioned in adulation by my uncle and people who come to our house. So, congratulations. You have a proud and rich history. You are off to a really good start. So, let me give you my background. I have a special fondness for teachers and educational institutions. You see, I come from a family of teachers. It's from both sides of the family. My grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, all their sisters, my father's siblings like Tito Al and Tito Nola, who is a doctor of pathology. They were all teachers. And it should not surprise you, therefore, if I tell you that I have also always wanted to be a teacher. And I did, but that's getting ahead of my story. My mother dissuaded me from taking a formal degree in teaching as all mothers and wives. So I took up my next choice, which was mass communications. back in 1976, that was a very new field. And I went to Far Eastern University in Manila. It would have been nice to be in University of the Philippines in Diliman when I had been admitted in a coastal course via foreign service. But UP Diliman was all talahib. It was difficult to get to, and my parents were so afraid that I would be drawn to be an activista, which was a really high probability. So I stayed away from UP Diliman. So at 18 years, when I was 18, I was in senior in college. I graduated magna cum laude in 1980, and in the same year I was chosen as one of the 5 outstanding mass communication students all over the Philippines. But I did not get intermediate jobs. Instead, I chose to teach in the College of the Holy Spirit in Mendiola. Doon na talaga may aktivista. And thereafter, in St. Paul College of Quezon City, while taking up Master's in Communications Research in UP Diliman. So I did. To UP, tigas talaga ng ulo, no? So, that was college and my first job. I am sharing it with you, and I have shared with you my early credentials, only because they serve to open doors to jobs that would not have been otherwise available to me. I mean, going to teach in a private school would have been difficult if I did not have honors and a college degree. But that's as far as they go, because once you're in, the diploma and the honors became much less important than actually what I did and how I performed with the job. My teaching years account for some of the most fulfilling years in my early career, but it was also an eye-opener to the class gaps in our country, as manifested in the opportunity, the income gap, the educational gap, or experience gap. My students then were just 2 years younger than I was, because I started young. But they have seen much more of the world than I had. They have experienced more and have been challenged more than their counterparts in public schools. Well, like me, because I came from Quezon High. Even in that environment, however, is it unbelievable that I came from Quezon High? There's a huge reaction in this. Laking iyang. Yeah, we were 883 students graduating one batch. So we were 4,000 students in Quezon High at the time. So, well, yeah, they were not like me. So even that environment, however, I found that somebody who was dissident could sometimes be made to feel less capable, intentionally or not. And sometimes that somebody could fight back to prove herself otherwise. One of my students then suffered polio as a child. She walked around in a really heavy brace, but her condition did not prevent her from playing softball and being good at it. So she was dragging her feet, in her legs in fact. And for aspiring to be a doctor, she had a very difficult school life, being seen as different from everybody else. Well, let us stay with that. Further education and immigration to the U.S. became a possibility for me, so I packed my bags and ventured west. I had my first experience of being an early version of the OFW, a Filipino abroad, although my father would say that he was the even earlier version because he was traveling in the 1950s and going to New York, San Francisco, and Japan. So, but he was not a Japanese version. Okay, so you could ask him that after. So I was in San Francisco, California in the 80s. My perspective, rooted in a small town, Catholic upbringing, inevitably got wider in being in a cosmopolitan city.